Hello and welcome to another edition of Cyclone Insider. This is a post-game show from Stillwater, Oklahoma, where Iowa State was a 20-13 winner on Saturday. I am in Stillwater. Eugene is back in Des Moines. Eugene, pretty ugly game. Like, Iowa State offensively did not play well at all. Defensively, I thought it played pretty well. Special teams were pretty well bungled on a number of occasions. But I think when you talk about complementary football that we've heard so much from Campbell for so long, like today made sense, right? Like they didn't try to do a whole lot offensively. They ran it, I think, 48 times. Rocco, 9 of 19 for 113. Like, so pretty, again, nobody's going to feel great about this passing offense coming out of this. But they win, and they played the game to win the game, I think, to a large degree. The defense was awesome. Really only had one bad drive and otherwise completely shut down Oklahoma State. So to me, this is a game less about the game and more about moving forward and looking at this 8-4 regular season as a whole.
Yeah, I would agree with that. It looked like Iowa State did exactly what it needed to do to come away victorious. The defense covered up for some mistakes on the offensive and special teams end. And more importantly, they closed regular season on a 3-game winning streak after an ugly 4-game stretch and a 5-0 start to begin the year.
Yeah, and I thought, talking to Rocco after the game, he admitted to being in I think he said dark spot was his quote during that 4-game losing streak. And I don't think that's surprising to anybody who watched Rocco play or talked to Rocco after any of those games. And he didn't play particularly great today, but I think it shows the importance and the value of this 3-game winning streak, because in the grand scheme of things, like 8-4, given what Iowa State has done over the last 10 years under Campbell, is kind of a so what, right? Like it's a ho-hum. The season's probably going to be remembered for the 5-0 start and then the 4-game losing streak more than it is this 3-game winning streak to end the year. But I think it matters to that locker room and that coaching staff, especially as an illustration of the culture we hear so much about, that they were able to pull out of a nosedive and avoid the worst case scenarios. I mean, all you got to do is look at the other sideline here of how things can get away from you real fast. And for Iowa State to be able to persevere, I'm not even going to say figure it out, because I don't know if they figured it out, but to persevere in these last 3 games, I do think is valuable, is worthwhile, even if ultimately as a whole 8-4 is disappointing after a 5-0 start.
Yeah, I think we previously talked about before, what would 8-5 or what would 9-4, 8 wins look like. And while it is definitely not the Big 12 title game, it is still better. It is still a more palatable ending to the regular season. And I think there is something that is to be commended. You come back from a 4-game losing skid where it felt like nothing was going right. You finished the year strong. It's not exactly going to move the standard. It's not exceeding the standard. But I still think that that's a valuable test of character and how they responded after when it looked like they had 0 answers after Colorado, 0 answers after, the turnovers and letting the BYU get away from them, or Ben Bramer's injury in that Arizona State game. And here they are now, 8-4 in a much better spot than they were a couple of weeks ago when we were looking at possibly the sky falling.
Yeah, I mean, think of it felt like Iowa State was not yet in an existential crisis for the year or for the program, but like you could see it on the horizon, right? Like, because quarterback play is so important. And when you have a good one like Iowa State has in Rocco Beck, to see that go poof and disappear the way that it did, certainly against Arizona State, like it is concerning because it throws your whole future into flux. And now, like, I still think there'll be people like having questions about Rocco heading into next year, but not to what they were after those games, and not to where it's like, does Iowa State need to look elsewhere for a quarterback in 2026? Like, he wouldn't say. I asked him about his injuries today. He said he'd let us know after the bowl game, so we'll have to hear more about that. But I do think like the calming effect, his improved play, and like again, like if you're having a change at quarterback, does that have a domino effect on your roster in a era where your roster can get away from you in a real hurry? Does it hurt you from a fundraising perspective when Iowa State's trying to get not only to the 20.5 revenue sharing cap, So it is like, again, things can get away from you quickly. And I do think like it could have gotten very bad for Iowa State. Instead, it's pretty good. Like it ain't great, but it's pretty good. 8-4 is pretty good. I think I picked them to go 8-4 before the season started, either 8-4 or 9-3. So like this is in line with preseason expectations, even if the path to get there is disappointing. So I think you just have to be able to hold multiple thoughts in your head about this season, and that it wasn't what it could have been in either direction, right? Like it could have been Big 12 title game. It could have been 5-7, and holy hell, what are they going to do next? And if those are the two polar extremes, like to finish closer to the good side of the ledger, again, it's not what you wanted, but it's not nothing.
Yeah, then looking on the defensive side, I mean, you think back to the Cincinnati game where you, for the first game without John Williams and Jeremiah Cooper, they couldn't stop Nosebleed. And you thought, oh, man, this is going to be a long rest of the regular season, long second half of the season. But the defense has played better, steadily improved. And I felt like over this last 3 weeks, or even during the losing streak, there were bright spots in helping Iowa State kind of stay in it or stay in it, not only in the game, but also this season.
Yeah, I mean, and just look at that secondary. I mean, Caden Mattson was your starting safety today, a walk-on. Like, I'd have to go back and look, but is he like their sixth-string walk-on or safety at the start of the season? Connor Welsh, another walk-on from Ankeny, played some snaps, got hurdled by a guy. So, like, you do have to put the whole thing in context, and I don't think injuries are an excuse because you have to build a roster and a team with the knowledge that you are going to have injuries. But certainly that was a big part of it. And still, like the defense was really good today. They gave up the 2-minute drive at the end of the first half, but that was really it. And I think like there's some interesting building blocks for that defense coming back next year. They're going to have some, big shoes to fill and some question marks in terms of health for the corners and some of the safeties. They lost a safety today in Josh Patterson, who's transferring out apparently. But like there's some interesting pieces for them coming back next season.
Yeah, that's the part I'm most looking forward to now, especially now that we're in bowl season. Who's going to stay? Who's going to go? How are they going to handle it? We probably still won't even know fully to the full extent who are the opt-outs until that bowl game, whenever that bowl game is, kicks off. So it's going to be an interesting next few weeks for Iowa State.
Yeah, the transfer portal window isn't until January, but Campbell was pretty clear that like they're going to know coming out of probably this week of where guys are staying or thinking. They're going to have individual meetings, and I think everybody's kind of on the same page in terms of, just because the transfer portal window doesn't open until January 2nd or whenever it is, that ain't holding anybody up. Like people on their way out are going to be on their way out, and I think like Campbell didn't have a real answer about Josh Patterson, but I think back to a couple of years ago when, two running backs seemed like they were on their way out, and Campbell was like, just be done. And like that paved the way for Abusama and Carson Hansen to get time. So again, like I don't think they're going to mess around, with guys that have plans on leaving, which is fine. I think like both for the guys leaving and for Iowa State to be like that. So like now we talk about bowl game. I mean, you got any bowl predictions? I am horrible at the bowl prediction game. The momentum seems to be for guaranteed rate in Phoenix or the Texas Bowl in Houston, but this is not my forte, so I'll leave it to you.
Yeah, when I was just kind of scoping around or looking at some projections and looking at different outlets, it seemed like the Rate Bowl, it seemed like the Texas Bowl. The Liberty Bowl also showed up in a couple of outlets, so it's one of those three. Sorry, no Pop-Tarts Bowl this year. No sacrificial Pop-Tart.
Well, there was a little buzz to somebody I talked to today about that potentially being on the table, but that seems like a significant stretch. I like the good thing for Iowa State if they can avoid the Liberty Bowl, not only because they've been a bunch and, Memphis is not exactly a vacation destination in December usually, is like the one in Phoenix is against a Big Ten team. The Texas Bowl is an SEC team. So like you could have an interesting matchup that you haven't always gotten, at Iowa State. Like they get Miami last year, I think was a big reason why people cared about that game, even if Cam Ward and Miami didn't care about the second half. So like there's some interesting matchups here that assuming that, they're the roster mostly stays intact heading into the end of the month. That could make for fun football. Even I'm kind of out on bowl games after last year, like when Cam Ward just pieces out at halftime. I can't particularly care about them, but like to the extent that you can, like you at least want an interesting game.
It's definitely a long shot, but for you, Travis, would you rather go to the Liberty Bowl for the 5,000th time, or would you rather go to Orlando?
I've never covered I've actually never covered a Liberty Bowl, and I have spent more time in my life than I'd ever would like in Orlando. But I'm going to take the weather, probably, right? Like I'll just go with that. But I'm thinking Phoenix or Houston, so weather and not Memphis, or Liberty Bowl. So we'll see. I mean, and some of it'll like matter too. Like look like BYU ended up winning today, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So the Big 12 still is, has a chance to get 2 teams into the CFP, and that'll create a significant domino effect to see where Iowa State lands. We'll know either next Saturday night or Sunday afternoon, I would imagine, of where they're going to end, or they're going to have to wait for that selection show, whenever the hell that is. So,
most likely. Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, stay tuned. DesMoinesRegister.com. We'll have it. With that, I'm going to go. I got flights to catch, drive back to Oklahoma City. He's Eugene. I'm Travis. We work for the Des Moines Register. Make sure you go to DesMoinesRegister.com for all our coverage of today's game and the ensuing bowl game and men's and women's basketball seasons that are now going to really pick up, especially for the men this week with a trip to Purdue on Saturday. So for Eugene, I'm Travis. Thanks for watching. Catch you next time.